mayor is getting national attention for the way that she's spending taxpayer dollars. Now, critics say you can't turn your head in the Chicago suburb of Dalton without seeing the name of Mayor Tiffany Henyard. She's also the supervisor of a neighboring township and refers to herself as Super Mayor. It's her TikTok handle, too. But she's now accused of spending tens of thousands of taxpayer funds on self-promoting billboards, as well as putting her name on government buildings, government vehicles, even government rugs. Not to mention the Tiffany Henyard calendar, which includes the Super Mayor's birthday.
We begin with breaking news. A fist fight breaks out at Tiffany Henyard's Thornton Township meeting tonight, and witnesses say Henyard herself jumped onto the pile.
It was one thing when the guys were fighting, but when she jumped in it, I was just taken aback. I was floored.
She jumped in, she hit her head on the table, so...
Now we could dive into everything. Like how she threatened the entire town, telling them they better have her money, or the way she went on wild spending sprees, including that one day where she dropped $40,000 on Amazon using the town's credit cards. Yeah, you heard that right. And trust me, we've got it all. Every single detail. For those of you who haven't been keeping up with the latest in this political soap opera, Tiffany Henyard is officially out. She lost her re-election for mayor. She lost her position as township supervisor, and as of now, she's unemployed. Breaking news as we come on air tonight. Tiffany Henyard is done. I'm Scott Schneider. I'm Don Hasb. And our very own Dane Plack has been on the front lines of all this Dalton drama. And tonight, things just got even wilder. Because Tiffany didn't just lose, she got obliterated. Her opponent, trustee Jason House, crushed her at the polls with a 7-1 margin. That's 87.9% of the 4,400 votes going to House, and Henyard scraping together just 12%. The results came in fast, and within minutes, House's campaign headquarters turned into a celebration zone. But the story doesn't end with the election. Even though she's been booted from office, Tiffany Henyard still had to face court-ordered subpoenas. See, during her time as mayor and township supervisor, she just stopped responding to Freedom of Information Act, FOIA requests, which are legally protected ways for citizens to find out how their government is spending public money, and in this case, she was spending a lot. Most of it was going through credit cards, and those statements are exactly the kind of documents FOIA requests are meant to reveal. Early in her term, those credit card statements were being released, which is how the media was able to track her excessive spending. But over time, transparency faded, and the documents stopped coming. Fast forward to last month's Taste of Thornton Township event. WGN Investigates got a hold of records showing singer Kiki Wyatt was paid $30,000 for a 30-minute performance, and rapper Jay Holiday pulled $20,000 for his set. Add in the staff, the production, and other miscellaneous costs, and the total hits at least $85,000. Lower than originally reported, but still outrageous enough to raise eyebrows. Town trustees refused to approve those kinds of expenses, but by the time they voted, much of the money had already been charged to credit cards. And to make matters worse, trustees claimed that even expenses they officially rejected were still pushed through the cards. So what did Henyard do next? Simple. She just decided, we're not responding to FOIA requests anymore. Basically, why should we tell people how we're spending their money? That's how absurd it got. Eventually, it reached a point where news outlets had to sue the Henyard administration just to force them to comply with the law. WGN is now suing the EU Village of Dalton for refusing to follow open records laws and hand over spending data. Late last year, WGN Investigates filed a formal FOIA request asking for credit card statements, salary details, and information about Henyard's taxpayer-funded vehicle. Dalton refused to release any of it. After an appeal, Illinois Attorney General Kwame Raoul's office ordered Dalton to hand over the records by mid-March, but the deadline came and went, and nothing happened. Now here we are. Not only is Tiffany Henyard being sued by WGN, but a whole lineup of other organizations are joining in too. The drama is far from over. For a long time, people were demanding access to the records, but Henyard played the waiting game. She stalled just long enough that when she finally got kicked out of office, she threw up her hands like, "Hey, I've got nothing to do with this anymore." That's not my problem. There's a new mayor, a new supervisor, take it up with them. But the plaintiffs in the lawsuit weren't having it. Their response? Not so fast. And I quote, "The former mayor is about to find out if losing an election is enough to escape contempt of court." See, Henyard had already been found in contempt of court once before for refusing to hand over records. Now that she's no longer in office, she thought she could dodge the consequences. But the judge didn't let that slide. In fact, he made it crystal clear. You better show up in court or you're going to jail. Former Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard was due in court for failing to produce documents related to a lawsuit involving Freedom of Information Act (FOIA) requests. These weren't optional. They were legally mandated. The judge even warned that if she didn't comply, she could face a $1,000 fine for every single day those records remained undisclosed. So what did she do? Well, facing potential jail time and that daily fine, Henyard showed up, virtually. She didn't appear in person, but she did log into the court session online. The case stems from a downstate organization's FOIA request seeking credit card records, and according to court documents, Henyard had ignored that request entirely. She didn't even bother showing up to the initial hearing about it. Now the judge has given her until next Friday to hand over the paperwork. He also ordered her to show up in person for the next court date. During the hearing, Henyard tried to pass the buck, telling the judge, "I was just the face of the village. I wasn't in charge of the records." But the judge wasn't buying it. His response? Basically, you had access. You were ordered to turn this stuff over. You didn't. So next Friday, you're coming back and we're going to deal with this because those records are getting turned in one way or another. Now here's my opinion, and I'm not holding back. Tiffany Henyard doesn't want to hand over those records because those documents are loaded with proof of corruption. Plain and simple. Everything people suspect. It's in those files. The wild spending, the misused public funds, the shady deals, it's all there. And if those documents come out, it's only going to confirm what so many have been saying all along. She may just be the most corrupt mayor in America. So here's my question to you. Do you think she'll actually hand over those records? Or do you think she's headed for jail for blowing off a FOIA request and ignoring a court order? Personally, I think she's arrogant, and honestly, just foolish enough to end up behind bars. If you're listening right now, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and do all that YouTube stuff. My name is A the Lawyer, and I'm out. Peace. Alright, so here's a story we all kind of thought was already done. But guess what? The super mayor might actually be headed to jail. And not even for the reasons we thought she would. Let me break it down. So, Tiffany Henyard, yeah, she was the mayor of Dalton, Illinois. And let's just say things weren't exactly squeaky clean.